This kind of problem commonly appears in exams such as ACT. This looks like a simple problem at first look. However, its apparent simplicity is deceptive. It is not so easy actually. This problem is actually quite tricky. Let's see how to solve it. Let theta be an angle in the second quadrant such that sine theta minus cosine theta is equal to 1/3. What is the exact value of sine 2 theta plus cosine 2 theta? Now, whenever we are given a problem where we're given sine theta plus cosine theta equals whatever, or sine theta minus cosine theta equals whatever, and asked to solve for sine 2 theta plus cosine 2 theta, or a combination of such things. Every single time what you're going to do is you're going to begin with this given equation, let's call it number 1, and square its both sides. Why? Because when we square both sides of this equation 1, the cross term will have this sine 2 theta. How? Let's see how. Sine theta minus cosine theta equals 1/3. Let's go ahead and square both sides of this equation. What do we get? We get sine square theta plus cosine square theta minus 2 sine theta cosine theta equal to 1/9. Now, sine square theta plus cosine square theta, this is equal to 1. And 2 sine theta cosine theta, this is equal to sine 2 theta. So what do we get? We get 1 minus sine 2 theta equals 1/9. Now just a little bit of rearrangement here will give us sine 2 theta equals 1 minus 1/9, which is 8/9. So now we have already gotten the value of the sine 2 theta. Next thing we need to figure out is the value of cosine 2 theta. Naively, we might think that we could do this sine squared 2 theta plus cosine squared 2 theta equals 1. We already know the value of sine 2 theta to be 8/9. We plug that in here and we solve for cosine squared of 2 theta, and then from there we can solve for cosine 2 theta. Yes, we can. However, by doing so, we'll get only the magnitude of cosine 2 theta, not its sign. So what we need to do is we need to solve for cosine theta, and then from there we're going to solve for cosine 2 theta. How do we solve for cosine theta? To solve for cosine theta, we're going to begin with this equation. Sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta equals 1. Now the sine squared theta, what we're going to do is from equation 1, sine theta is equal to 1/3 plus cosine theta. So let's write that here, 1/3 plus cosine theta, square it, plus cosine squared theta equals 1. All right. Square the term in the parentheses, and what do we get? 1/9 plus cosine squared theta plus 2/3 cosine theta plus cosine squared theta equals 1. Now look here. This cosine squared theta plus cosine squared theta. What does this give us? This gives us 2 cosine squared theta. Okay. And there's this 1 here. What else do we have? We have this 1/9 plus 2/3 cosine theta. And then there's this plus. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to multiply this whole equation by 9. This first term becomes just 1. Second term becomes 2/3 times 9. Gives us 6 cosine theta plus 18 cosine squared theta. Let's subtract 9 from both sides, and that would give us 18 cosine squared theta plus 6 cosine theta minus 8 equals 0. Now we're going to go ahead and divide this entire equation by 2, and that would give us 9 cosine squared theta plus 3 cosine theta minus 4 equals 0. Now this equation here, it is quadratic in cosine theta. So using the quadratic formula, we're going to solve for cosine theta. What do we get? We get cosine theta equals minus 3 plus minus 3 squared minus 4 times 9 times minus 4. And this will be under the square root divided by 2 times 9. What does this give us? Minus 3 plus minus 3 squared is 9, and 2 minuses become plus 144 divided by 18. This further gives us minus 3 plus minus square root of 153 divided by 18. Now we know that theta is in the second quadrant. That means cosine theta is negative. Minus 3 minus square root of 153 divided by 18. This is the value of cosine theta. Now to solve for cosine 2 theta, we're going to use this identity. Cosine 2 theta equals 2 cosine squared theta minus 1. So cosine 2 theta, this is equal to 2 times minus 3 minus square root of 153 divided by 18 square minus 1. 2 times, the minuses, they cancel out. 3 plus square root of 153 divided by 18 squared minus 1. Little bit of arithmetic here, and we get 3 plus 153 squared divided by 18 times 18 minus 1. 2 goes into 18 9 times. Alright, so this was a little bit of arithmetic here. Now 9 plus 153 is 162 plus 6 square root of 153 divided by 162 minus 1. What does this give us? This gives us 162 divided by 162 plus 6 times square root of 153 divided by 162 minus 1. So 162 divided by 162 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. What are we left with? We're left with 6 square root of 153 divided by 162. Simplifying it even further, we're left with square root of 153 divided by 27. So now we have value of sine 2 theta as well as cosine 2 theta. What is the value of sine 2 theta? 8 over 9. Plus square root of 153 divided by 27. What does this give us? This gives us 24 plus square root of 153 divided by 27. Sine 2 theta plus cosine 2 theta. And here's our full and final answer.